Hi, my name is Fantasia Wood, and this is the use of assessments in adult learning. So, assessments in adult learning refer to systematic methods used to measure learners' knowledge, skills, attitudes, or competencies. Basically, this is when you think of like quizzes or when an instructor is watching you do a simulation, things that rate how well you were able to retain the knowledge that's been taught to you. So this is how assessments can be used in a workplace. The first way is by doing pre-training, allowing the trainer to see where all of their audience is at currently in training so that you're not wasting time overtraining one subject when everyone's already 100% knowledgeable in it versus missing a weak topic. Another is just measuring after training. So say an employee has a 90-day window for training, just measuring to make sure that that was effective. Providing feedback to employee and trainers, it allows for constant feedback throughout the training process. Certify competencies. So a lot of jobs require certificates, whether it is a company rule or, a law. So things like SHRM, which is a big one, that's the human resource certificate. It requires an assessment and enhance employee engagement. People like a good competition and they like being told they're doing well. So assessments are a fun and easy way to do that as long as, people do well on them. This is the best way to use assessments in adult learning. The first is to make sure your assessment is actually logical. This seems super obvious, but people can go on tangents or just not really understand what they're teaching to their audience. So a really skilled assessment creator would understand what the best thing is to match your objectives. Use a variety of assessment methods. Just quizzes gets really boring, just your traditional fill in the bubble quizzes. So something to keep people interested and also to measure in different ways because not every assessment is built the same or gives you the same results. Provide immediate feedback. It would be crazy to give someone an assessment and then not give them the results for weeks and weeks and weeks. So just making sure you're actually telling people how they're doing so that they can use their assessment to fix what they need to know or so you can fix what you need to teach. Encourage reflective learning. Ensure fairness and accessibility. There is no reason to do an assessment that not everyone can take. That's not fair, and it doesn't allow for everyone to accurately gauge where they're at in learning. So, for example, if you need people to do a web-based assessment, make sure everyone can access the internet. Seems pretty obvious, but some people would forget that. And then balance formal and informal. A lot of people get test anxiety. There's a lot of pressure on the concept of formal. The age-old question of, is this going to be for a grade when, you pop out the quiz for your kiddos? So making sure that test anxiety and nerves is not getting in the way of your results is really important as well. There's a lot of advantages to assessments, especially in adult learning, and you can really sneak them in a lot of different ways so that you can see how you're doing as a teacher and students can see how they're doing as, learners. My favorite is just the fact that it allows the person who's creating this program, whatever they're trying to teach, it allows them to see how they are doing. Because I think that's a side of everything that people don't think of as often is, if you're not teaching well, people aren't learning well. And so it allows for modification and training. And kind of you can, road map your training, change it a little bit if people just aren't clicking in a certain subject. And what would advantages be without disadvantages? One of the biggest disadvantages is honestly, it can be time consuming. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're doing this for the first time, you can make a very poor, very confusing assessment. I've seen them many times as an adult learner who does mostly online college. Very confusing assessments. And sometimes, if your world is limited, your assessments are also limited, which is why I'm going to show in a few slides a resource that I actually found that helps to build assessment questions to limit bias. So definitely bias is a big disadvantage as well. So when you're in the real world, there's a lot of different ways that you're assessed, whether you know it or not. One way is like a pre-quiz, like I was saying before. So, for example, you test someone on how well they're able to speak to customers, and then you train them and see if they've improved. And that's how you determine if you wish to retain them or, where the gaps in their skills are. There's online quizzes, virtual labs. You can buy pre-made quizzes, things like that. Um, Self-assessments and peer reviews, where you have, say, a peer who's training with you and you guys work together each step of the way to speak with each other. And, that's an assessment. You're assessing each other. And then just strictly quizzes, gamification is a way that you can do them, but making compliance training, which is something that a lot of people have yearly, annually, is making it more of a game based, making it more fun. So assessments are really important in adult learning. There's so many different ways to make sure they're effective, make sure they're targeted and impactful. And you can use all the best practices that were listed before, making sure that you're avoiding the disadvantages of assessments and really highlighting what you're teaching and making sure that your audience is actually retaining the knowledge. As a teacher, assessments are a very crucial aspect of teaching so that you can learn what you need to improve on for your students to be the best version of yourself. And this obviously extends to the workplace as well. So that's it. Have a wonderful day.